What's good, everybody? It's Chanell, also known as Tuba Fresh, coming at you today with my top 5 most influential classical tuba albums. And this is, to me, just 5 albums that was really influential to me as a young person, as a youth. So when I was younger in high school, or around high school or middle school, this is probably around the time where I was listening to the most tuba recordings, probably college as well. But let's start off with number 5. Goes to Gene Pokorny. His album Orchestral Tuba Excerpts, I think, was a major deal back then and still is today. I mean, if you think about it, he was one of the first people that recorded, laid down orchestral tuba excerpts for students, I think, that, and some like adults, amateur people that are just trying to get jobs, really laid it down and put comments on each recording before each recording, and I thought that was really special. His sound on those albums, if you've heard it, his sound on that record was huge, and he does have a huge sound, but it was just, I don't know if he was playing in the hall or if they just added a ton of reverb to that shit, but it was pretty crazy intense and awesome as a young player, just to hear him play those low register notes with that much oomph. And I don't know, it must have been reverb on there, or he's just in the middle of the hall alone. But either way, it was a great album, a great recording, and I think a great piece of history to study, you know. It was a great study companion. And one of the things that have always sticked with me from that album was when he says something like, you know, at the end of it all, it's really about the journey. It's about the journey through practicing, through playing these excerpts, through maybe winning a job or not. But what you have to remember about the trip is that it's just not the destination. It's just not winning the job. It's just not getting there. It's about the journey to getting there. Because on this journey, and I know a lot of you know, things change. You take different paths. So I thought that was some of the best advice a professional player like that could ever give someone, especially people who are young and searching and looking for something to kind of think, you know, well, I didn't get that one, what's the point? And I think he opened it up to a bigger discussion, to an artistic discussion, and not just a, like a sportsman discussion, which I think, and I've talked about this with some of my friends in person, that, you know, we have to bring it back to being an art form. Number 5 goes to Gene Pokorny, Orchestral Excerpts. What's the name of it? Orchestral Excerpts for Tuba. Yeah. Number 4 goes to Roger Bobo, Bobissimo. Is it Bobissimo? It goes to Roger Bobo, and really, he has a ton of records. I chose this one because this is probably the one I listen to most, because I believe it has either Chartist or Carnival of Venice on it. Of course, like, as a tuba player, just like, I just want to play the fast stuff, because everyone thinks I just play slow. So I love that record. I just love Roger Bobo's personality and the way that he kind of just commanded an audience. I mean, I think that's something really captivating, and it's a really special thing to be able to know how to do as an entertainer, as a musician, and especially as a tuba player. I mean, as tuba players, you know, things have changed. I mean, we have, you know, tuba players running up and down stage with their sousaphone or their tubas, and it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. But back then in the 70s and the 80s, you know, he really, a lot of people, just regular people, folks in the suburbs, have never seen anything like that before. He went in and played on all these big time shows, all these late night shows, all these different things. He just had really good PR. He really showed tuba players, brass players, and he really showed the public, the general public, that tuba playing can be way much more than Tubby the Tuba.
Every time we do a new piece, you all get such pretty melodies to play, and I never a pretty melody.
So definitely give a big shout out to Roger, and he's still going. I believe so. You know, leave it in the comments. Is Roger Bobo still playing tuba? Right in the comments. All right, that was 4. Number 3. Number 3 goes to the homie, the big boy, Norwegian badass, Øystein Bodsvik. Yeah, I mean, I have a long history with Øystein. Just a couple things. I sold records for him when he played at my school. I was tabling. I was selling his merch. That's how much I love Øystein's music. I was like, yes, sign me up. I'm good. You know, I've talked with him as becoming an adult, just chatting with him, and he's always been a great resource. You know, we've had lunch together. The thing about Øystein is a few things, but the thing about Øystein is, when I first listened to the album that I first came across, which was, I think it's called like Carnival Tuba. What is it? Carnival Tuba? Tuba Carnival. Tuba Carnival. When I came across Tuba Carnival, he's like, you know, at the edge of an ocean, on a rock somewhere, just sitting with like some Italian meal and his tuba just chilling. I mean, that was one of the most awesome tuba covers I have ever seen. His whole perspective on being a solo artist has completely shaped what we know is possible. Hi, Max. Yeah, so I'm living right next to a Navy base, so there's gonna be a ton, and an airport, so there's gonna be a ton of planes flying over. And I'm trying to do these kinds of things outside because it looks pretty, though it makes me sweat. Anyhow, but what I was saying, Øystein, the way, just his album cover, right? Just the way that he came out, I feel like he kind of embodied like the new era of Roger Bobo. And I feel that the thing about Øystein is that he also writes his own music. And let's just talk about Fnug. And I think that's how you pronounce it, and I'm pretty sure it means snowflake in Norwegian. And the thing about snowflakes is that they're all different. And I don't know how many people, I definitely bought the sheet music to Fnug. I definitely still have it. And I definitely tried to play it. But the thing about Fnug, a snowflake, is that every piece, because every different person is going to play differently. I mean, I was just listening to it just to kind of gear up for this video, and no one can play it like Øystein plays it. Please show me a video of someone playing it just like Øystein. I don't think I've ever seen or heard it. And that's what's remarkable, is that he said, I'm gonna be a tuba soloist, completely reinvented it, and killed the game. I mean, you know, just making a living off of being a solo tuba player. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, for any instrument, but for tuba, come on. That's what's special about Øystein. Another thing about Øystein, from a personal point of view, is that I remember going to you know, International Tuba Euphonium Conference in like Arizona or something. I went with my school, and he was on a panel with, I mean, it was like Øystein, an army person, person in orchestra, person that did movies, like I think it was Jim Self maybe, I don't remember the other people. But what struck me about that whole conference was this panel. And the only reason I went to this panel is because Oisin was on it. And I learned Jim Self had some great things to say about recording in film. I mean, that's a pretty cool job. But what Oisin was like, the reason I went into being a soloist is because I couldn't play the tuba like someone else wanted me to. And what he meant by that was saying that when you go into an audition, like an orchestra audition or a band audition, you're thinking, how can I play this excerpt the way that they might want me to? And they could mean anything, right? They could mean, how was it on the Leonard Bernstein's recording? How was it on the Chicago Symphony recording from 1974? So it's I think what he was trying to say is that no one could do me better than I can do me. I'm not trying to be put into a situation like a band or an orchestra where I have to fit the role of what this conductor wants me to do, or this section leader wants me to do, or this brass section wants me to do. No one can do me better than I can do me. And I think I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that right then and there, because that was my last year at graduate school, and I was about to go on and do my own thing. And I was like, should I audition for, at that point, I think the New Jersey Symphony was auditioning. Should I go and audition for the New Jersey Symphony? I think the Detroit Symphony was coming up that year. Should I go do that? I was like in a middle ground of trying to figure out what to really go for, what to really do. And when I heard Oisin say that, because that was already in my mind, that just sealed the deal for me. And I just decided, you know what? He's right. No one can do you better than you can do you. And I think that's a really powerful message for anyone, just to like remember that, remember that. So that is why Oisin gets my number 3, Oisin Botsvik, Tuba Carnival. All right, let's go on to number 2. Okay, so number 2 goes to, and you can guess it maybe, is Velvet Brown. Velvet Brown, I believe her album was called Velvet Brown. I believe so. Let's see. Yeah, I believe it was a self-titled album. I think it was her first album. And I'll tell you the story really quickly. My mom brought it home for me. She probably went into like a Tower Records or a Barnes & Nobles back when those things existed. And she got me this record because she definitely heard of Velvet Brown before, because she was the only black female tuba player like anyone has ever heard of. And especially me being a black tuba player, female black tuba player, my mom was like, hey, I'm gonna get my daughter this. She'd probably love it. She got it for me. I was amazed. I mean, talk about representation. When I saw this album, I was just like, wow, there's someone that looks like me doing this. I could not have believed it if I didn't see it right in front of me. So that in itself was an eye-opening moment for me as a young middle schooler or high schooler, or whatever it was. I believe it was in middle school, or it could have been high school. Yeah, I think it came out, I want to say it came out in 98. I could be wrong. One of my favorite songs ever, and only when Velvet is playing it, is the Sonatine for Tuba by Jacques Castoride. I bought that piece way too young because I was listening to that album, and I grew into it. And I contribute a lot of my sound to Velvet. Just listening to that record thousands of times. Just listen to that piece thousands of times. Listening to her inflections, listening just every bit of it, every bit of her sound, every bit of her musicality. Her musicality was a thing that struck me the most on that record. It's definitely one of the best tuba records out there, period. And that led me to go on and study with her. I mean, I was such a huge fangirl, and I wanted to go study with her from a very young age. And I even met her as a young person, and I then I did graduate school with her, and it was amazing. Yeah, I strongly encourage, that is a must listen to, that album, and all her other albums, but that album definitely changed my life, definitely changed my concept of tone, my concept of sound production, my concept of musicality, and also range. I don't think before looking at that piece, The Sonatine, that I had ever seen a part that goes in to treble clef for the tuba. And yeah, it was just amazing. So if you haven't checked that out, please check that out. And of course, the number one album, classical tuba album, that has to go to, 1000% has to go to Arnold Jacobs' The Portrait of an Artist. And it comes along with a book. We can't forget the book. So, as we all know, Arnold Jacobs is a legend. He is, in many ways, grandfather of the tuba. And the thing that is most important about Arnold is that he was an amazing teacher. He taught any and everyone under the sun, from tuba players to singers to trumpet players to clarinet players. He taught everyone. What's special about this album is the way that he kind of intersects talking and teaching on the record. Before then, I don't think I heard any record, period, or any album, tuba album or a brass record that had teaching moments in it. And I thought that was really interesting because he just kind of made you think on a different level about the horn and about the concept of playing music, listening, knowing the music in your mind, in your brain, being able to sing it before you produce the sound. You know, really thinking about it as an art form and not just, you know, well, I can, you know, play this thing really fast and there's no musicality behind it. You know, and he really challenged people. He really challenged the musician, and he thought about music in all of these physical, mental ways that I thought was really interesting. Almost like a scientist, you know? And I think he developed really amazing breathing techniques for brass players and for singers, musicians in general. He did a lot. He did a lot for the community as a whole. And this record, just being able to listen to him play solo with a metronome. He plays Chartist with a metronome on recording. Who does that, right? Who will possibly let you, you know, be so vulnerable to play on a record, you know, with a metronome, you know? Then he goes on and he plays with a brass quintet, his brass quintet. That's on the record. And then he has clips of the Chicago Symphony brass section, the orchestra. I mean, this record is just, it's a Bible for brass players in general, not just tuba players. It's really something that you should have in your house, really something that you should own. And yeah, I tried. You can't get it on Spotify. So, you know, own the book, get the book, get the album. It's you know, it's nothing like you've ever listened to before. And, you know, it's just amazing to think, I think this guy Brian, I forget his last name, starts with the F. I don't want to say it wrong. He taped all of these sessions, all of his lessons. He taped it, and then put it in and organized it and put it in this album. I think, wow, what a great thank you for doing that. You know, yeah, I mean, it's a great album. I still own my copy. I will own it forever. My CD, definitely #1 top 5 classical tuba albums has to go to Arnold Jacobs, the OG, The Portrait of an Artist. So that's it for today, guys. This is a quick video, or is it quick? I'm not sure. But it's a video just wanting to kind of bring something different to the channel. Definitely going to be bringing a lot of playing, a lot of music your way. But I want to sit down and do this kind of talking about tuba and the tuba life and just musician life in general. Let me know what you think. What should I do next? Definitely give me some suggestions. Yeah, so this was great. Nice seeing you guys. Thank you so much. See you next time.